Right, so the way to solve this is we need to solve it in a certain sequence. Okay, so the sequence goes. Welcome to MirrorMatics. Today we'll be solving the sine graph where the equation is given as y equals to a sine b bracket x plus c bracket and then plus d. Right, so we need to find out what is a, b, c and d. But the thing is we cannot follow that sequence. We need to follow this sequence, d, a, b, c. Okay, that c, that c. Right? Okay, so for the d first, okay, d, if you know your transformation, is actually a shifting, okay, translation vertically, okay, either upwards or downwards. Okay, so for that we need the principal axis. Okay, principal axis is the line that divides the sine graph into two parts. Okay, vertically. That means there's a horizontal line, okay, that divides the graph equally. Okay, so in this case we can see that the line that divides the two graph equally is actually at y equals to -3. Okay, principal axis actually is at the x-axis, but because now it is at -3, that means there is a translation downwards by 3 units, and thus that makes d equals to -3. Right, so d done. Okay, let's move on to a. Right, so a is actually the amplitude. Okay, amplitude means the distance from the principal axis. Just now we know principal axis is here, right? -3. So it's a distance from the principal axis to the maximum point, or distance from the principal axis to the minimum point. Okay, so for this one, I'll be taking distance of principal axis to the maximum. So from -3 to 2, that's 5 units. Right? So a is 5. Okay, for a you need to be careful. Okay, that calculation alone is not enough because sometimes there's a flip of the graph. Okay, whereby for sine, right, it's supposed to go up first and then down, but sometimes they go down first and then up. Okay, in that case, a will be -5. So for this case, upon observation, right, we see that it's actually up first and then down. So that means a is safely as 5. Okay, right, then we move on to b. Okay, for b, we need a particular formula. Okay, period is equals to 2 pi over b. Okay, so using this formula, we bring the b up, then the period down. Okay, the period for this case is actually, if we want to see the period, is the time that it takes from one point to repeat itself. So that means for the cycle to repeat. So maybe I take this from 1 all the way it goes up to 9. That is an easy number to see from the maximum point to the other maximum point. So 1 to 9 is actually 8. So if you bring the b up, the period goes down. 2 pi divided by 8 will be 5/4. Okay, now we're going to C. C is a bit difficult. If you see this equation, is x plus c, right? So that means C is actually a translation. If it's plus, that means it's translation to the left, right? So you need to know how does the graph shift to the left, right? Okay, so what you can do is you look at your principal axis. The principal axis is supposed to be at the y-axis because that's where the sine graph starts, right? So if it was at the y-axis, it's at -3, right? Y equals to -3. But now it got shifted to the left by -1. So that means the graph shifts to the left by 1 unit. So if the graph shifts to the left by 1 unit, that means plus c should supposed to be +1. Right? So that will make the x plus c to be shifting to the left by 1 unit. So c is supposed to be 1. Right? Okay, so that is how we solve sine graph. Okay, how we get the a, b, c, d. The order must be d, a, b, c, dep c, dep c. Right? So mirror Cikgu Hadi, that is how you study. Okay, dah habis. Itu je.